I think we are still figuring the slides out. So hi, I'm Kapil. I am from Microsoft. I lead the digital natives business at Microsoft. And pretty excited to be here today. We also have a booth downstairs. I don't know how many of you had a chance to go and interact with our team members from Microsoft, but do get a chance, do go downstairs, have a chat. There's some lot of cool things that we are showcasing today, including Azure OpenAI and some of the other new releases that we have done in the recent past months. So that would be of interest to you. Today, I think the topic, once the slides come up, was how entrepreneurs can build on OpenAI solutions that can solve for challenges for businesses, for communities, and so forth, right? So I wanted to keep it free-flowing in a sense that I just want to give a bit of a background where we've been coming from an AI perspective, where it's going, but more importantly, as you all have been listening and seeing in the news, the partnership between Microsoft and OpenAI, what does that mean for us, for OpenAI, and for the larger consumers out there, right? And then give you a brief view on how we are solving some of the challenges using Azure OpenAI in agri-tech, in healthcare, and so forth, right? So we had 30 minutes. We're going to probably do 20 minutes. Hopefully that should be enough for us to dive into the subject. But how many of you are already using OpenAI in a more of a business sense? 3.5, GPT-4? Okay, great. And are you seeing a bigger change in the way GPT-4 is working for your models and so forth versus 3.5? Yeah, fantastic. I think one challenge that we have found, and we have hundreds and thousands of customers, as you can imagine, who want to be on 4.0. I think there is a throughput challenge that we are also finding. So if you're finding that issue, you're not alone. We ourselves find that problem because I think the adoption curve has just been so exponential on OpenAI that we are trying to get as much of that access out there. But that's fantastic. And we'd love to know what you are doing in terms of using the OpenAI to build what kind of models, what kind of problems you're trying to solve for. We'd love to know more about that because I guess the beauty of the conversation will be, you must be solving probably a unique problem that you have seen as founders and entrepreneurs, and how Microsoft can then help you build upon that, because we also are looking at use cases day in, day out across industries. And the folks here today at the Microsoft booth can help you from a kind of right from validation point of view, from looking at the tech stack that you're running underneath it, and a whole host of areas that probably you may need support on. Feel free to reach out because we'd love to see how we can partner with founders and entrepreneurs in the room today, right? So I've run out of my small chat. We'll figure out where this thing is. So the problem is they use Google and we are on Microsoft, right? So Drive doesn't talk to SharePoint. So maybe they need to switch to Microsoft as well. But may I just, show of hand, what companies do you represent? Any founders in the room? I think this is small, so if you can just say who you are and what brought you here, that'd be great. Go ahead. Yeah.
The department, and so on. It's not a great use case, but we are taking baby steps towards maximizing the usage. Then we probably use it to prepare assessments, which are again personalized to the companies, and probably then a bot that can interview people. So we've started using OpenAI as much as possible.
Fantastic. It's a great use case because the big boys of the business, the Naukri.coms of the world, who historically have been actually charging a premium for doing a resume builder. How many of us have paid thousands of rupees for someone to actually build a resume? All of that can now be kind of fast-tracked through automation as you're building, right? Personalization rather than anything else, right? Depending on what kind of role you're looking for, what kind of industry you want to go to, and who you are really, right? And so that's phenomenal.
Even within a bigger corporate, right? There are departments, there are verticals, there are clients for which the JD should change. And this is also helpful for staffing companies because they say when a client calls, they hardly give me 5 words to start looking for a candidate. They don't have access to a JD. So what if you entered the name of the client and the words and a JD is out? So that really helps my clients fulfill what they're looking for.
Yeah, no, that's one of the use cases we actually look to solve for. The other one is in property tech. We have similar properties listed all across the board. You are able to capture duplication as well. Or if you're an Airbnb and you have properties that you need to upload daily, or you're a car trade or a Spinny, so easy for you to go ahead now and just kind of say it's a Honda 98 model sports edition, just write a 20-line description, and boom, there you have it, right? So all of a sudden, a Spinny can now write descriptions for thousands of cars that would otherwise take somebody to sit there and do for days and days, right? So that's another use case that is very, very obvious one out there.
Cataloging.
Yeah, cataloging, as you say, right? Super. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm gonna go fast on this because I guess you are all learned people here who have been asking ChatGPT a lot of questions, and you're building your own model. So I don't think I need to be giving you any kind of specific gyan here, but. What happened there? Yeah. Look, I think, over the last couple of quarters and years, AI has been so much in the news out there, right? I mean, technology is so transformational today that, if you're not talking about AI specifically in the last couple of quarters as founders, as businesses, then you are missing something big out there, right? Right from the board to investors, everyone is saying, are you doing something with AI? So that's been kind of the business driving in terms of what we need to be doing. But also, the big shift that we're seeing is that AI is just not a tech that people are playing in their engineering hubs. It's actually tech that's out there that customers are using, right? So I'll give 2 examples. If you go today on Myntra, right? They have a fashion GPT that they built a couple of months ago with Microsoft, where you can go and say, and this is my favorite one, the Pathan song for Shah Rukh Khan, what is the outfit? Can you show me? And it will bring up the shirt, the trouser, the shoe, and the glasses that resembles closely with that. So that's Fashion GPT. That's how Myntra is now really changing the narrative of how you search on Myntra, right? So that to me is the implementation of AI that is happening out there today. It's no more something that people are building. It's actually being used by consumer, and it's only going to fast pace. As the gentleman here was saying, from a resume, from a career perspective, from a medical diagnostics perspective, we are seeing a lot of implementation of AI happening, right? But I think, and a lot of you know this, but I thought it'd be great to just kind of reflect back on the journey of AI, because the journey of AI is a well documented story. It is nothing new. I know generative AI has just kind of hit everyone's imagination thanks to the availability of mobile and everyone being able to play with it. But I think if you just reflect back, in the 50s, what was happening is, the initial artificial intelligence, which at that point was more of a symbolic AI, was being created. And what it meant was, researchers and scientists were actually looking at ways of building these supercomputers that will be able to mimic human thinking and be able to solve for problems, right? That was the imagination that it all started with. And then, they realized that, hey, this is great, but you know what? There are far more complex problems that something like a symbolic AI can't solve. Come the 70s, what happened was hardware was accessible. There were supercomputers that were made, which meant vast amounts of data could just be crunched through, right? And that then eventually became the large programs that we see today that are being run by a lot of the organizations out there, right? So these were the large programs that were built that were more driven by what used to be called kind of a subset of the symbolic AI. I think what also happened in the 2000s, with the advancement and more research that happened in AI, two things happened. Neural network, which we all are aware of, right? Kind of mimicking how the human brain and interprets and so forth came. And the second thing was around deep learning and machine learning, more importantly. What started happening is, you could feed a vast amount of data, and the computer and the systems will be able to look at patterns and make decisions, right? On behalf of you. So that is what was happening. And then came generative AI. So what's the big difference? When you look at ChatGPT, or many of you may have heard of DALL-E. Have you heard of DALL-E? Yeah? I mean, now that's the game changer with generative AI that wasn't available before, where you can provide multimodal instructions to the large language model, right? So image, text, voice, and it will create new models, new images, new text. New context can be created from the same data. That's the big difference that generative AI does. And I think we're going to see more and more of this going forward. Now, I wanted to just take a minute to talk about our partnership because this is a lot in the news today, but I think it's important to understand. So OpenAI and Microsoft, this partnership happened a few years ago. There are a couple of key fundamental principles on which we are partnering, right? One of the big things for us is to, of course, continue investing in OpenAI, because Microsoft is an investor in OpenAI, and the whole idea behind that is to build further artificial intelligence models, algorithms, and so forth with OpenAI. The second is around building an AI platform for developers, so they can use everything that's available today on OpenAI to build and develop their own models on top of the LLM that's available, GPT-4. That's what we're using today, right? And the third, which kind of goes with our own mission statement, empowering every individual and organization on the planet to do more. I mean, the whole mindset there is, how can OpenAI be available and accessible to organization, developers, people across the board, so they can do things, they can build things on top of it, right? So those three key principles. But again, through the investment that we've made in OpenAI, OpenAI runs all of its models on Azure. And for them, having access to the Azure cloud, which we have built to a scale, allows them to really go and kind of build the models that they're building today, right? So that's the other big thing. The availability of compute power that is today wasn't there 10, 20, 30 years ago for an OpenAI to come on the scene and really build something that large, right? So I think it's also the timing of how compute power is available today globally, and an OpenAI can then build upon it and go and kind of solve for some of the big challenges out there, right? So I'm gonna take a minute now to give you a perspective of how Microsoft is looking at AI, right? So what we call the Microsoft Intelligent Cloud. You will see that Microsoft has infused OpenAI in every product that we have out there, and you'll see more of it if you listen to Ignite, which recently was concluded. We had a lot of new releases we spoke about. But I'll just break it down simply, right? The bottom part, think about it. The Azure machine learning is the foundational platform that we have, the ML platform. On top of it, you have out-of-the-box services for developers like vision, speech, language, decision, right? These out-of-the-box services allow you to quickly integrate these services into whatever solutions that you're building. Then we also have the applied AI services, video indexers for large OTT content providers, for example, or immersive readers, bot service, which is very commonly used by a lot of organizations out there to really scale up their chatbot services and so forth. And then on the top, what you see is services that are consumed by users and organizations out there. You're very familiar, right? So Power BI, Power Apps, I mean, these are enterprise services that are out there today. They are all infused with GPT, which means these solutions are far more smarter today than they were before, right? And then, of course, you have 365 dynamics and security on top. And we call it Copilot. That's the word. You'd have Satya talking about it and others. It's basically, you're the pilot. Your Copilot help you accelerate the outcomes you need to create, right? Another one, which is not here, but I'd love to call out, is GitHub Copilot. I mean, I'm sure you all are, you have been using GitLab. With GitHub Copilot, you're able to really, one of the best use cases I've seen is looking at old applications that you might have built in C++ and you want to kind of migrate that over into a latest language. That app debt that you carry with GitHub Copilot, you're able to really accelerate that app modernization, right? That's one great use case that we have seen on that. All right. And look, I mean, and we spoke about this a bit, but it's important to understand, right? AI is, of course, for organization, and this is more business context, right? So today, organizations are using AI to make much faster decisions, much accurate decisions around their people, around their businesses, and so forth, right? Right from forecasting to looking at big trends that they may have skipped before. You can just, on top of Azure OpenAI, you can kind of bring your own data, typically. You can then kind of vacuum that environment so it's not available externally. And then you're able to build your own model on top of it and really start talking and kind of looking at trends and whatever that you want to look at through visualization. That's one thing. But employees and leaders across all functions. I mean, your people, you yourself, if you're part of an organization today or you are running an organization, your people would want these services as well. Tomorrow they're going to ask, hey, we want to use these solutions and services that are available out there that are powered by AI, right? To solve for our own customers. We spoke about developers and lastly, consumers. I think any service that we use today, right from the morning we wake up, a Zepto or whatever you use to order your breakfast, to the cab you take, right? I think there is some bit of AI that is being infused in those services as we speak today. It was always there, but I think there is an exponential implementation that's going on for there. I can't remember the name of the bot, but basically what they said is, this girl from India was able to kind of talk about Great Gatsby. She was asking questions to the bot and really having a conversation, which was never possible, right? So the art of possible for you to be inquisitive as a child and being able to really understand concepts and so forth. I think that was that. They're really ruining it, right? You won't be able to do it? Yeah. So I think another agri-tech example that we spoke about, right? A lot of the agri-tech use cases are actually coming from India, believe it or not, because we are land of farmers and agriculture. And there's a lot of use cases that are on weather patterns and so forth that we are actually working on with the government of India, with public-private partnerships and so forth. And the last one, which is on health tech, which is around disability, right? Being able to, this is a fantastic example where, Saqib is kind of showing us how he can go on his iPhone, he can take a picture of a signage, and it will tell him what that signage is all about, right? So using AI to really have a more fulfilling experience for people who otherwise have, a disadvantage, be it seeing or hearing, right? So that's phenomenal to me. I think those are some of the use cases that are really creating huge impact on human life. So I wanted to make sure that you had a view of it. You can go on to the Microsoft YouTube page, and you'll have all of these videos, just in case you want to see it. I think we're at the end of it. Lokesh, you can stop that. Thanks. So thank you so much. This was quick, I know, but thank you so much for listening in, and do connect with the Microsoft team if you have any ideas. If you're looking at solving for some of the AI use cases that you have today, or you just want to understand how Microsoft is helping solve organizations out there, be it on OpenAI and or the Azure machine learning models services that we have, happy to help. Thank you so much.
We're around 500,000 ARR, and we have the end audience is like mechanics or retail salespeople who use our tool to see every day how many sales have they made, and what is their incentive via that.
Yeah.
So I've been exploring AI capabilities to just communicate with these people in a better way and to nudge them to actually be better at their jobs, right? But I'm working with large brands like Gulf Oil or Tanish, Titan. How do I get around the data privacy concerns they might have if I integrate with OpenAI?
That's a good question, right? Today, OpenAI, are you consuming OpenAI through Microsoft or are you consuming directly through OpenAI?
We haven't integrated yet. Right now,
You
our
haven't,
product is just
yeah.
regular coding.
See, I think, and great question, Khushi, because data residency and compliance is something that every organization is trying to figure out at this point in time. Even as Microsoft, we are speaking to a lot of financial services customers today, and they'd love to implement some of the use cases they have seen with us. I think their biggest concern is on data privacy, right? What I can tell you is that OpenAI on Azure is going to be available across all our data centers in due time. Today, it is available in the US, our North America data centers, but we are working double time to make sure that the GPUs that we need to run these models is in every data center that we have on the planet. Now, it may take some time, Khushi, that's just the reality to it, right? Depending on what data are we trying to kind of communicate to. Some may have residency issues that you may need to still deal with. Others may not have. You know, a good example that we have seen, like I was working with a EV motorcycle manufacturer in India, without naming names, and they are opening hundreds of showrooms every day. Just sharing my own kind of experience on this particular use case, and they wanted to make sure that they're able to nudge their sales executive of how many sales, what type of sales they need to do to get to their quota and so forth. And that's where they were trying to infuse AI and so forth, right? In that case, they had data that was, it was data about their performance, so that wasn't really an issue. But when you have customer data, the addresses being pulled, then that probably is something that needs to be solved for. So no solve yet, but the solve will be from Microsoft side that OpenAI services are in every data center in time. So for example, in Middle East, we have our data centers in Qatar and so forth. And what you would see is that those services are available in that region, in those data centers for you to then consume directly. Thank you.
Aditya, I run a AI company or a AI startup early in the space. So how is, as Microsoft is sitting on the top of the funnel, right? Or saying at the infra layer, right? Are you guys seeing more and more enterprises using Microsoft right now or Azure right now to build internally? Or are you guys seeing more startups building up in the space? And that helps us to kind of figure out, should we be in the application space or should we be in more like a dev or infra layer?
There is a pull and push happening. I'll tell you, every other day we have a large enterprise that is saying, I need to have my current set of applications having AI-driven outcomes, right? Or AI-led outcomes, right? So that is happening every day. But at the same time, why that's happening is because they know there is a startup out there that is building something that's going to disrupt them badly. I was just speaking to the gentleman earlier who was talking about resume building and so forth. You know, the V1 startups of India are actively, because they're enterprises now. By the way, enterprise is just not Tata. I'll tell you, $3 billion startups are operating as enterprises out there. I think it's nice to be called a startup, but trust me, they are as enterprises get, right? So what I'm seeing is a lot of disruption happening across the board. Traditional enterprises are seizing the moment, as I see, to really pivot and accelerate innovation in their organization through AI. Gen 1 startups who have now become enterprises are looking at a second stage disruption in their own industries, and they are pivoting very quickly around that with the deep pockets that they carry. And then there is new age disruptive startups like a lot in this room who are like, hey, look, I'm going to go and disrupt a disrupted industry because I just have access. So I would say it's a very equal playing field today in that sense. What I would say is most use cases that we are seeing are in a B2C space today. And I think that's maybe a very unique thing about India. I think we try and solve for the society and so forth. But there is also a lot of use cases in the ISV and SaaS spaces that are being built. Khushi talked about one. That's a classic SaaS ISV solution out there that is now going to be powered by AI, right? And we ourselves have invested in a lot of companies out there as Microsoft. One example is Darwinbox. If you know Darwinbox is a company based out of Hyderabad. They're in HCM. Microsoft invested in Darwinbox, and they are kind of building a lot of their workflows and a lot of their solutions now infused with AI, integrated with, say, Microsoft Teams and so forth, right? So, yeah, go ahead. Look, I won't give you a technical engineering answer to this because I don't code. But I can tell you this. Today in ChatGPT, there is an option for you in your natural language, given a command and instruction, it will give you as good an answer. 80% it will give you. So this term prompt engineering, is here to stay. The question I ask and always is, like, it's not going to be always 100%, right? I think we are all going through it, right? When we started playing with GPT, we don't know what to ask, how to ask, and it was not giving us answers. All these, new mushroomed, individuals who are saying, I'll teach you how to ask GPT a question and build your marketing profile, right? So I think we're going through that. This whole prompt engineering is also going through its own evolution where I think we need to fine tune that to a point. The beauty there is that the pace at which this is happening, at a global level, you can imagine millions of people are talking to GPT today and improving that model every day, right? So I think it will take some time, but prompt engineering, as you call it, is here to stay. And it will become very much part of how we code and create, but not fully, in my opinion, as well.